Hmm. Well, I figured out a good way to film myself, and since I'm consumed by vanity, um, I figured it was about time to, show what I can do on this guitar. So I'm just gonna fuck around on my guitar, but not until I've had a drink. I'm trying to develop a YouTube channel, become a certain type of personality on a YouTube channel. And there's all sorts of business I have to go through. I have to set up advertisements and all this rot and, establish my, I don't know, tax identification number and so on and so on. There's a lot of paperwork involved. I mean, it's a business. There's always paperwork involved with business. Tax people want to keep up track of you. Just like the tax people want to keep track of our poor dear president. Here's to his health. Well, I'm sorry, but the fool should have known better. That's just how it is. He's paying the price now for his vanity and his arrogant foolishness. I'm not too dissimilar from Donald Trump in certain respects. My first name is Donald, and but he was a famous man, and he grew up rich, and I'm an unknown man, and I grew up poor. So there you go. That's a big difference. About as big as you can get. Well, it was Fitzgerald who loved the rich, and I guess he married one of them, blonde woman from the South who drank excessively and then went fucking crazy. Poor woman wound up in an asylum, and poor old Fitzgerald, he wound up a broken alcoholic. Writing's not an easy job, believe me, and him and Hemingway, of course, they were buddies, you might say. They admired and respected one another, although Hemingway's admiration, from what I've read of various accounts, was not distributed very generously, let's put it that way. I think he admired Ezra Pound, though, Hemingway did. And I think that's why he wound up in Idaho, because he liked, he and Ezra Pound spent afternoons in the boxing ring, somewhere outside of Paris, I don't know where. Poor old Hemingway, he got shot in the leg or something, and in his book, Sun Also Rises, he gave the character Jake impotence, shot in the balls or something like that. I don't know what. It doesn't matter. It's just fiction anyway. All he did was give the guy a handicap a little worse than his own and put himself in the place of the main character. You've got the Hemingway men and the Hemingway women. And the Hemingway women tend to be aristocratic and snotty. Hemingway men tend to be these adventurous he-men types, and who enjoy hunting and fishing and so on. And but they're very well read. For example, Hemingway adored the Russian authors, especially Turgenev. Turgenev, oh, Fathers and Sons. Oh, Hemingway loved that book. Anyway, and Hemingway also admired Knut Hamsun, the Norwegian. Hamsun. He just followed Dostoevsky. He wrote at the very tail end of the 19th century, about 1890 or so. And Hamsun was very strange to begin with. His first novel, his most famous novel, is Hunger. And that that was just a totally unique book. Nobody had read anything like that before. And it's just about a single man's struggle to make a living as a writer. He finally gave up and went to America, went to Minnesota. And they say on the back of these books, you pick up by Thompson, that he had tuberculosis, and he cured himself, so they say. Well, it's a, how do you, I don't know how to put it. Myth, legend. He sat on top of a boxcar, and went all the way from Minnesota to New York City to, take a steerage vessel back to Norway. And he sat on that boxcar and just breathed in all that fresh air, I'm sure he got a lot of smoke from the fucking train, too. That wasn't so smart. Anyway, it's probably a big boast of, just like all that bullshit. I mean, some of these guys, they're just born fucking liars. And they'll lie about anything. And but there are others like me who are just principled, you might say. They were brought up by strict mothers not to lie. So I was brought up by a strict mother not to lie, and she was a legal secretary. She admired her bosses, and particularly one of them who wound up as a Supreme Court judge for the state of Washington, Marshall Neal. That was a big deal. That was unintentional, by the way. No, I've always wanted to be a college professor, never made it. I was a born instructor, my father was one. My mother said that my father lectured her, when they were early on into their marriage. And he began to annoy her because he was lecturing her, and she told me he acted like a child, he'd take off his suit and when he came home at night and toss his clothes around, take off his socks and litter the room, wouldn't even throw his clothes in the clothing hamper. It irritated her. She thought he was a child. In some ways he was. And later on, my brother always had a dispute about this, me and my brother Bob, with whom I take many exceptions, although I still love him. He said our father was spineless because he wouldn't stand up to his second wife, our stepmother. My sister hated our stepmother. I disliked her. I think my brother probably loathed her, no doubt. It's just fuck. That's biology, practically. Sociobiology. I mean, it doesn't take a great deal of genius to figure that out. The thing people forget is that human beings did not just crop up overnight, according to the Bible. Full blown. No, it took us about, 100,000 years, at least, to get to this point. 100,000 years of development that we know nothing about. I mean, this is a big, vacuity in human knowledge. All the prehistoric experience we know nothing about, and we can't even conceive of it. The only people who can are the Native Americans. They can conceive of it, and they know a lot about it, too. Far more than we give them credit for, I'd say that. I don't know, white people made a big fucking mistake when they started slaughtering Indians, which they did. Jeez. I mean, Americans committed genocide all over this country to clear it out, the Indian population. We forced them off their land. We threw measles-infected blankets at them. Pretty cynical treatment, wouldn't you say? And then in this very state, There was a fellow named Marcus Whitman, preacher, minister, Presbyterian minister, maybe, I don't know. And he was running a mission down there by Walla Walla. This is in the late 19th century. Well, the Indians got fed up with him and they attacked him. There was a Whitman massacre. They murdered all the people at the mission. Pretty grisly thing, but that's what happened. It'd make a great movie, I'm sure. The whole problem with society these days, especially among young people, they're so easily distracted by sports and celebrities, and they don't even think any longer. Shit, the teachers don't even know what to say in the classroom any longer. They can't keep them fucking interested. They have to be entertained the entire fucking time because they can't pay attention. They don't know how to pay attention. That's why they're so blithering stupid. People have lost the ability to pay attention because of this sheer distractedness of society in the first place. It's pitiful. It's pathetic. Shit, when I was a high school kid, I could pay attention all day fucking long. I could block out every fucking sound I heard in study hall. I hated study hall. It's so bloody fucking noisy in there. I always went into the library where I could at least study in peace. Shit, I hated school. I couldn't have been more relieved when I got out of that fucking place. I thought it was a fucking prison. And it was. I mean, after all, we have compulsory education, do we not? Up until the year 18 or so. Compulsory education. Now, I think that is a pretty fucking ridiculous concept. Education shouldn't be compulsory. It should be desired. Shouldn't be compelled. Compulsory education. Who the hell ever came up with such an idiotic idea in the first place? I'd like to know. God. They just want to keep the fucking kids off the street who don't know any better and won't learn anything. They'll get thrown into jail eventually anyway. I say put them all on work crews and let them know what working for a living is, doing a hard manual labor. And maybe they'll think twice and want to get an easier job down the road and submit themselves to a course of training or something. You know, might smarten them up a little bit. At least that's my theory. And it was the theory of William James. William James, the famous psychologist, brother Henry James, the novelist, he suggested, Conservation Corps, which is exactly what Franklin Delano Roosevelt implemented. Conservation Corps, and they did good work. Why the hell can't there be more projects like those nowadays? Because of the Republican obstructionists. The Republican obstructionists. Those snide, wealthy individuals who think they know it all. They know it enough for themselves. They know nothing about anybody else. They know nothing about common people with their everyday concerns. People who don't hardly earn more than $30,000, $40,000 a year. You have these assholes like Mitch McConnell and what's that motherfucker's name, Lindsey Graham. Millionaires, those sons of bitches. Trump's own cabinet stuffed with millionaire plutocrats. The whole Trump administration smells to high heaven. Stinks. Fucking con asshole. Shit, how people can admire that man, I have no fucking clue. I'm gonna publish this motherfucking rant on the internet. You'll see how crazy I can be. But I can also be very sensible, too. I Oh, I don't know. I like to think of myself. Now, this is this will demonstrate entirely the extent of my vanity. I like to think of myself as a philosopher king. Although that's pretty ambitious now, isn't it? Well, I would say so, but that's how I view myself, as a philosopher king. And I've done the work. I've read the text. Oh boy, have I ever. And it's gotten me exactly nowhere. Just made me, I don't know, more vociferous, I suppose. The only thing that calms me down any longer is music. Well, and if it weren't for music, I suppose the world would be a pretty fucking nightmarish place. It's a nightmarish place anyway, but if it weren't for music, we'd be suffering even more. Hey. Sometimes I quit playing guitar for a long time, and the calluses on my fingertips disappear. And then it hurts like a motherfucker when I try to start playing the guitar again. So it behooves me to just never quit playing. And then I wouldn't have to suffer. Yeah, well, I don't know. It took me almost 50 years to figure that out. Now here's a little ditty I figured out, and it's got this, I employed this repetitive minimalist theory of music from Philip Glass and John Adams, that opera composer. I keep practicing, but fuck it, I don't make too many improvements. And then I put in this additional note. The note of discovery. And let's see, when I was a boy, Jefferson Airplane, on their very first album, they did something like this. Something like that. Oh, and then there's my favorite, this old blues ditty. Ow. God damn it. Ah, fuck. Well, I muffed it up. It just takes endless practice, you know, I never get it good enough, but, you know, I keep doing it. And it's fun. I like this one especially. This chord progression. Oh, God. Anyway. Yeah, fuck. I'm a hobbyist. That's all.